We are owed an explanation, an apology, and some bodies better be held accountable and out of jobs. And I would even say, at this point, somebody ought to be prosecuted. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Spread it across your social media platforms. Make sure you have smacked the bell to get notification of my rants. And click the word all or YouTube won't tell you that I'm ranting. Oh, and by the way, yes, the microphone is back. Some of you like this mic. Others of you don't like it and you comment about it. First of all, the feed that you're hearing has nothing to do with this mic whatsoever. This mic is running for my radio studio that takes this audio clip as part of the monologue to my daily radio show. Now that you know more about the production of this show than you really care to know about, let's get into it. So they're revising the numbers. Why the models that projected, first it was going to be almost 200,000 dead total from coronavirus, 90,000 by August. They're back down to 80,000. And they're backing it down to 61,000. And what's it going to be, next week? 30,000? 40,000? And of course, we're being told, aha, social distancing is working. Really? Couldn't possibly be that the, how do I say this? That the models were wrong? That it was pure fiction, fantasy, it was overreaction, it was over-the-top hyperbole for the purposes of seeing, hey, you know what? We need a way to see if we can't roll out kind of a, if you will, a soft martial law and bring a shutdown because we need pandemic training. I know some of you think that's a little bit over the top. Oh, you really shouldn't say that. Well, let's see. Hospitals that were built to handle the overflow because there was going to be an absolute influx and the hospitals weren't going to be able to contain all the people, and yet the hospitals, other than New York City, the hospitals are half empty. Hospitals that were created for this pandemic are now being quietly dismantled with no media attention. That, wait, why is that hospital just completely going away now? They overreacted. Governors overreacted. They got to be like little wannabe dictators, their own little presidents of their own little personal countries and kingdoms. And they've overreacted. They created nothing but hysteria and fear in people, and mis and disinformation. Can't even make up their mind, should we or shouldn't we wear a mask? And I advocate no, because if you don't know what you're doing, you could actually make yourself sick. For example, all right, this is just a little rag happened to be laying here. If you hold your mask like this after you take it off, there was no point in putting it on, and you certainly don't want to put it on after you've held it like this. And most people don't know the proper way to put it on and take it off. I saw someone who I respect here on YouTube do an entire video about, well, we have to wear the mask, and if it causes you to touch your face more, just stop. It doesn't work like that. Those of us, when we first got glasses, you touched them all the time. Why? It was a foreign object. You weren't used to having to put eyes on to see. You had eyes in your head. They worked. And the day that they stopped working properly and you had to put these on, you fussed, you fidgeted, you took them on, you took them off, and it was hard. It was this weird thing. So you put this mask over your face and you're not used to wearing one. You're constantly touching, which means if you've touched something contaminated, you're touching. Do you not get this? The best thing to do is just some simple common sense. Keep yourself as healthy as possible. Wash, practice good hygiene. But we've got these models now. Everything is going down, yet we're telling us this is going to be a wretched month of April. Death everywhere. And the way they talk about it, you think that you're going to walk out of your house and there will just be bodies lying in the streets. I mean, this is the kind of fear-mongering the media is doing, and certain governors are playing right into this. We killed a $22 trillion economy in a week. We just turned it off. And the president is ill-served by Dr. Fauci. And I need you, those of you that say you're for this president, don't just keep saying, well, he's waiting for the right moment. Enough. It is time to flood the White House switchboard and emails with, hey, end this now. I guarantee you, if the president said, you know what, I agree with you. We all need to just stay locked down. Why, you've got a former Obama advisor saying we need an 18-month lockdown. You know what? Fine. But while we're going, and I'll even pass the measure, I'll declare the martial law, we'll go into lockdown. And there won't be any presidential election until that's over. Watch how quickly the mainstream media and the Democrats want the pandemic lockdown over. There are so many things that have come into play here. There are those that simply wanted to take, and I explained this yesterday, that wanted to take this virus knowing full well that it was nowhere near the seriousness that they were portraying it to be, but this would be a good practice run. How quickly can we mobilize the nation? How quickly can we do this? How quickly can we shut that down? How quickly can we roll over people's rights? And again, this Dr. Fauci, he is on the power trip of power trips. He really, President Trump, you realize that Fathead Fauci sees himself now as he says jump and you, sir, say how high. He sees himself as now your puppet master pulling your strings, doing his bidding. Kick him to the curb. He reminds me of the evil character in a sci-fi movie.
I hadn't counted on this, but I must say you worked out beautifully. People are terrified of you. I'll have carte blanche to create the perfect society. My society.
The lockdown and the social distancing, it's working.
And we must continue even after we start allowing people to go back to their lives. We must continue this because this is what's pulling the numbers down. And we will create my society.
Oh, shut up, Fauci. Honestly. What about Japan? They didn't do this. Sweden, they didn't do this. Now we have reports coming out of California that not only did it not get it anywhere near this, it was supposed to be a bigger epicenter of this than even New York. And all of California's numbers are going down. And now there's reports even coming out of the San Francisco Chronicle, which is certainly not a pro-Trump rag on any stretch of the imagination, that maybe the coronavirus had actually been in California since the fall. And when people were sick because there was no reporting or any talk of coronavirus, they didn't know what they had and they just went on with their lives. And now herd immunity is why California has been able to do so well. But that's not what you're going to hear out of Governor Newsom. That's what you won't hear out of Mayor Garcetti as he's trying to get the citizens of Los Angeles to narc and snitch on each other for financial reward. Hey, tell us what your friends are up to. Have they got 11 people over at their house? No, they're going with this narrative. They want this whole social distancing, and they love this idea that in a pandemic or fear, they can shut things down, take away your civil liberties, and you're just going to be okay now with the police state because that's how we stay safe. You know, what's next? Are they going to use global warming as the next pandemic? They have to shut everything down over? And for those of you who say, it'll never come to that, you're the same ones that were ripping on me months ago when I said they were going to find some way to create a recession to try to hit Donald Trump. And you said they can't do it. The economy's too strong. They're doing it. Have you woken up to that fact yet? Have you woken up to the fact you've been lied to? That this is so over the top, so exaggerated. And I have been saying for weeks, herd immunity. You have to let a virus do its thing. And again, I got blasted today by a guy from New York City. You don't know how bad it is here, and I had a friend who died, and you don't care. I do care. I certainly care about anyone who is going through the grieving of having lost a spouse, a mother, a father, a child. It's horrible. Any death is horrible. But do we outlaw cars because there are people who are killed in auto accidents? Do we stay under permanent lockdown because there's always a viral infection, whether it's the flu, whether it's pneumonia, heart disease, cancer? Do we shut everything down when the governor of New York says it was worth destroying the economy if we saved just one life? I'm sorry. No, it's not. And I know that sounds hard and harsh, but that's the reality of life. We certainly don't want anyone sick. We certainly don't want the loss of life. But what I'm more angry about is the long-term psychological effect that this fear-mongering and hysteria has done to people, not to mention the financial devastation this has brought to people. If you don't really get that there is a real political and a nasty one at that behind all of this, and I understand that the president has a pragmatic side, and there is a part of him, and I think it goes back to his daughter and Jared. I think that they, come on, you gotta go on this one. His gut instincts in early March were spot on, and somewhere they hooked him. They got him. He should have stayed with what he wanted to do in early March. But the pragmatic side of him is he is seeing this as an opportunity to get some, spending out in, he wants infrastructure. I get it. He's not a rock solid conservative. He's pragmatic. He's trying to get some things through Congress right now that would be considered deficit spending, debt spending. But Mr. President, they're killing your legacy. They're killing the economy, which in turn is going to kill people. And my prediction is the long-term psychological and emotional effect that this is going to have on families will be far deadlier than the coronavirus itself. And again, the numbers are coming down, not because the social distancing is working. It's because the numbers were cooked to begin with. They set them high. They declared the lockdown. They declared the quarantine. They came up with social distancing hogwash, knowing full well that if they come in anywhere under their projection, they can take a victory lap. Well, Shazam, Batman. Look what's happening. They're trying to take a victory lap, when in reality, what some of these reporters ought to be saying is, whoa, 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 whoa. You were so emphatic it was going to be this, and this was going to happen, and they're just spouting the narrative, including faux pas news, formerly known as Fox News. So, it is time to flood the White House switchboard. It is time to email. It is time to get a hold of congressmen and senators and say, this is enough. Email your governor. This is enough. The fear-mongering, the devastating loss this is having. Do you know why Californians, they now believe, had the coronavirus and got through it? Now they're saying, well, they went into lockdown before New York. 2 days. 2 days. By the way, did you know that most international flights from Asia get routed through California? They don't fly to New York. They fly to Los Angeles. And then from there, they disperse through the nation. So, long before the president enacted his travel ban, Where were people from China landing? California. You know why people were able to develop an immunity and fight it off? Because they didn't have a 24-hour news coverage scaring them and fear-mongering them about corona. They didn't even know what it was. And fear. Never underestimate the power of fear psychologically to also trigger things in you physically. Where are the psychologists on this? Why aren't they being paraded out on our TV news? I'll tell you exactly why. Psychologists understand that the more fearful people are of getting it, if they do get it, they'll have a hard time recovering from it because they're already afraid because of what they've been told. I am convinced that a vast majority of people have had it, gotten over it, and never even knew they had it. Who is going to be held accountable? Who is going to pay a price for this absolute conspiracy that they have perpetrated against the American people? Well, that's it for this little rant. Hey, give us a thumbs up. Spread this one. Yeah, I'm already bracing for the hate mail that's going to come. Hey, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you have subscribed to the channel and smack the bell to get notification of my next rant.